Hi everybody, it's Sunday, March 11th, and this is RowHero's Week in Review. So last week I promised you no nonsense. I told you, listen, we got to stop playing around with these small demos of 5 to 10 pieces or even 20 pieces and start going into 100, 200, 500 range. So I did get a chance to run a few of those this week, and I'll take you through the results. But in the meantime, I thought you might be interested in hearing about some of the weird things that happen with the Concept2 that we need to be able to account for. So first, maybe some of you saw this video I posted this week. It was you would set up a 2,000 meter piece, and then you hit the checkmark button, and the Concept2 does not respond. So this is actually a very weird thing. We don't know what's happening. Concept2 doesn't know what's happening yet. But for very old models like the PM3 that you see here, basically 1 to 2 out of 10 times you try to connect it to a tablet, this thing happens. So we're not really sure if this is just my app. It's definitely more than one tablet. It's definitely more than one PM3. But it's something we're trying to figure out. Second thing, which is really interesting for us, is that one of the tablets we connected at UW that week connected just fine, said it was connected, started receiving data from the Concept2, but then right as the first stroke ended, everything stopped. There was no more transmission of information. So here's what happened. These Concept2s, and specifically their monitors, have a thing called firmware. Now firmware is like an app, and it is the thing that which controls all the interactions that you make with the Concept2, whether it's pushing on the buttons or pulling the erg handle, anything like that. Now, some of the ergs have not had their firmware updated in a very long time. And if that's the case, it means that we can't get all the information that we want. And we're left with a device that looks like this. So now instead of that, we show you immediately when you connect, the firmware is not supported, you need to upgrade it, here's what you go do. So going back to recording more data, picture this with me. It's 3:40 in the afternoon. I learned that there's going to be an erg test at 4:20, 2K, that evening. It's with a team that I haven't worked with before, but it's a team that's based out of my home base here at Sammamish Rowing Association. So I talk with the coach. He says it's okay to set up recording devices, and I get to work. So it takes me like 15 minutes to get their roster into the system, and all of a sudden these tablets are all hooked up with that team. So I go through the rigmarole of setting up the tablets for the first row of ergs here, and you'll see that there's about 10 to 11 on the front row. Just imagine that there are a bunch of guys there, and we set up the tablets just like this. Now what happens, everything connects just fine. They start their 2K, everything is fine. However, right as people start to finish their 2K, bad stuff happens. So we get about 4 or 5 of the 2Ks. The rest of them, the tablets just start quitting because they crash. The app crashes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 times. So, well, that's a step up from the 5 athletes that we were recording at one time back at UW. And it's good that we discovered these issues. Now, what was the problem? What you probably know is that we're recording the summary of a piece. So everything you see at the end of an erg piece, like the average split, the average watts, the average stroke rate, maybe even your heart rate if you got that connected, that's all connected up, and we save that directly to our system. But the thing you may not know is that we're also recording the same information every single stroke. So it's stuff like split, watts, stroke rate, but it's a lot of things that you may not know that the Concept2 also tells us. Things like stroke length, work per stroke, drive time, recovery time, so you can look at ratio, peak force, and average force applied during the entire stroke. Now, that data gets to be pretty big. It's not immense, it's not huge, but it gets to be pretty big. And what happened this week was when we tried to upload, around 200 plus strokes of data times 11, that's 2,200, let's say round that up, 2,500 strokes of information all around the same time. System wasn't able to handle that. Now, I'm sure maybe software developers out there are listening and saying, what the hell, like 2,500 is really nothing. And it's not, but to be honest, I'm paying for a lot of the cheapest infrastructure right now because I don't want to spend money where I don't need to spend money. So part of my work over the past week has been realizing, look, yes, you can pay for cheap infrastructure, but you also got to design your app to be a bit smarter, and you got to be able to scale in different ways than just throwing cash at it, right? I don't have that luxury at this point. So a lot of the work now that I'm doing is preventing that situation from ever happening again. So that was a good learning from the last week. Those are two things. So the last thing I want to close on today was that, I've outfitted this entire erg room with tablet mounts. And one thing I notice when I come in for workouts every day is that sometimes something has been tampered with or has fallen off and it's not been put back. So this has been an interesting lesson in that, yes, I can put these tablet mounts on and they can do their job, but they can't really withstand the abuse, and it's not really abuse, but the normal wear and tear of a boathouse environment. So I am putting some investment in a brand new mount. It's nothing to do with screws, nothing to do with things you have to adjust and tinker with. It's got to be a lot faster to put a tablet on and take a tablet off. So that's what I'm working towards, and I've got a shipment coming in tomorrow, and I hope to be able to show you more next week.